Good evening, and thank you for joining us for the evening incident update for the Dixie incident. My name is Emily Smith, Public Information Officer for CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 1. This evening you'll be hearing from various experts on the fire activity as well as the current evacuations. We would like to remind those watching, if you have a question for us, to please put that question in the comment section of this live stream, and we will make every attempt to answer those questions throughout this update. I'd like to start with an update on the acreage and containment for the Dixie Fire. It's currently at 18,702 acres at 15% containment with 1,918 personnel assigned. Our first speaker this evening from CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 1, Operations Section Chief Tony Burnell.
Good evening. As you can probably tell, today was a very active day on the fire. There's three things that really affect the fire. It's fuels, topography, and weather. And all three of them came in effect today when the fire got up and got very active on two different sides of the fire. So a little terminology. Some people are looking at the map and they probably don't know what the symbols mean. When we break down a fire, we break it up in branches and divisions. The branches are one of the higher levels working under operations section. Then they have the divisions working under them. We break it down and do span of control. So when you see the branches and division, that's how we just break the fire down for both span of control and also identification of certain areas. So I'll kind of start down towards the bottom of the fire. Division Alpha and Bravo held very well today. We're going in there, what we do called mop up. We're using our water, we're using our tools, we're putting out all the hot spots within 300 feet of the line. So that held very well today. Going into Foxtrot, Mary, and Papa held very, very well. We had some issues with Papa yesterday where it was trying to spot outside the line, but we were able to keep it within the line on Papa and nothing's crossed over in that area at all. So moving up into Quebec. Quebec was very active today as well as over here in Branch 1. So the fire there's a lake up there called Spring Valley. So the fire got established in a drought and it started running over our line and it started moving slowly towards Philbrook. We have a lot of equipment engaged in there, both hand crews, dozers, and engines, and we're trying to keep it from crossing into the Philbrook area, and we think we have a pretty good chance of success. The issue is it's very long drive times to get in there, so people that are familiar with the area, it takes a couple hours from Chico to get in there. So we're working it. We have a lot of people in place, and we keep on going to work that section very, very hard. We do not want it to move up into the Jonesville and Butte Meadows area, into the populated area. Up in here you see Branch 10. Branch 10 is what the X on the marks on the map, that's completed dozer line. So we're above the fire, we're putting in dozer line, and if later on we're either going to burn out from it means we're going to start fire to fight fire and let it back into the main fire, or we'll hold that with crews, dozers, and engines. The fire is established in Chips Creek, and people have been around Butte County for a while knows Chips Creek had a fire in there several years ago. It's very steep and very rugged. It's near vertical cliffs on both sides of it. It is in there. It hasn't got out of there yet, but we are prepared if it does come out. Moving down into Division Sierra, we're building line basically from Belden where the penstocks cross up in there, and we're improving old road systems and trails, and we're going to tie that back in. So basically what we're doing up on the north end is we're creating a catchment from the fire comes out of Chips Creek to stop it from moving up into the Humbug or Humboldt Summit area. Now this is where it got really active, and that's one of the columns you guys shown from the valley. Column is a column of smoke. So when it goes up, all that superheated air goes up in the atmosphere, and that's why it was turning white, because it was starting to turn into ice. So it got across the Feather River. The fire's actually back down all the way to Tobin. So when it was coming off that hillside, it's a very steep hillside. And once you burn out all the fuels, meaning the grass, the brush, the trees, burning material and rocks have a tendency to roll down the hill, and that's why we had to close Highway 70, because it was coming all the way down the highway. What also happens is that burning stuff rolls down the hill into the unburned fuel, and it runs back up to the top of the hill, because fires want to run faster uphill. The only time that really changes is if we have a strong wind like the Santa Anas will blow downhill, and they'll burn fast downhill. So as it made a run up the top of the hill, it creates embers. So when those embers get into the column, it can go down, and it gets out of the main column, and it starts dropping back towards the ground. When it drops back to the ground, it can start new fires, and we call those spot fires. It's very common, especially the last couple of years, because our fuels are so dry from the drought, bug kill, everything's receptive. So if a spark falls into the unburned, more than likely it's going to start a new fire. and that's what happened above Tobin. We had a couple spots in there, and if anybody knows that area is a very, very steep hill going up to the top. You got established, it ran over the top, and it's up over the top of the ridge and kind of burning a little bit north and west of Bucks Lake. We have a plan. We move resources over there. We're going to get in there and aggressively try to find out where we can tie that fire into and keep it from going into the Meadow Valley or Bucks Lake area. It's very challenging country because it's not only heavy fuels, but there's large rocks. It's harder to get the dozers into that area and fight the fire. So there's more hand crews than engines. We worked with our law enforcement partners in here. We did some evacuations, and they'll cover that more. That was at abundance of caution. It's not in the Bucks Lake area or the valley area, Meadow Valley area. So it was very active. There's going to be more weather tomorrow, so this could happen again tomorrow. We're hoping we get around some of the hot spots, and so it doesn't happen. But we will get around this thing. We fight a fire aggressively, but we're not going to hurt anybody. We want the public to get hurt. We don't want firefighters to get hurt. So we're going to do as much as we can to get this fire out as soon as possible. Please write in if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Brunell. Our next speaker this evening is the Plumas County Sheriff Johns.
Good evening. I am Plumas County Sheriff Todd Johns. First, I'd like to apologize for my casual attire. When I came to Chico today, I did not anticipate being here in front of you for a live Facebook feed. So today at roughly noon, I received information from the folks here at the fire team that the fire did in fact jump the Highway 70 corridor into the area of Tobin or above Tobin. I responded down here and looked at the fire map, and I was told that the fire actually came to an area on the mountain above Tobin and had roughly covered about 2 acres in less than about 2 miles in less than an hour. Based on their recommendations and what I was seeing, additionally with the fire weather that was anticipated, I chose to do a mandatory evacuation of the area Story, Tobin, Belden, Rich Bar, all the way to Twain, back to Meadow Valley and Bucks Lake. Those areas are under a mandatory evacuation. The evacuation center has been set up at the Quincy High School gym, located at 6 Quincy Junction Road. And I've worked closely with my partners outside of the county, Fish and Game, Forest Service, Butte County Sheriff's Office. We will be providing 24-hour security in those areas of evacuation until further notice. I did receive a couple of questions that I could answer now. One is, should Quincy be worried? At this time, I do not see a threat to Quincy. However, as the chief already indicated, the fire or the weather is going to be unpredictable at least through tomorrow. So I would ask all residents in the area, Quincy and to the east of Meadow Valley, to at least be aware that there is a possibility of threat. The other question I got is, did someone evacuate 4 people camping at the Grizzly Creek off Powerhouse on private property? I'm not sure of that exact location, but I have forwarded it to my dispatch center to make sure that that area has been evacuated if it is in our county. If it is not in our county, if it's in Butte County, then we'll make sure that that gets relayed to them. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Johns. Our next speaker this evening from the Butte County Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Steve Collins.
Good evening. On Wednesday, we became aware of this incident and issued an evacuation warning for the Polga area as well as the area just north of Polga. On Thursday, we extended that warning into the Philbrook area. All of this was out of an abundance of caution, not knowing what would happen with the fire and the weather. Today, we changed the evacuation warnings in Philbrook to orders, as well as we made an evacuation order in the area of Jonesville. Again, this is out of an abundance of caution because we want to make sure that we keep our residents as safe as possible. We issued evacuation warnings to the Butte Meadows area and Inskip area just to make sure that they're on alert and aware of the potential threat. Other areas adjacent to those, such as Sterling City and that, we have not issued any evacuation warnings or orders. The Butte County has opened up an evacuation center at the Nazarene Church on Monte Vista in Oroville, as well as a small animal shelter on Del Oro in Oroville. And that is all we have to report at this time. We do want to encourage everyone to be aware of this situation. Also to make sure they've got an emergency plan in case we need to extend evacuations out to other areas. And for those that may have animals or may need assistance, please give yourself the amount of time you're going to need to safely evacuate yourself and your animals. Thank you and have a good evening.
I'd like to bring back up our operations sections chief to address.
Okay, so I'll read the question and give you the answer on it. So the first one is Tobin safe or gone? Tobin is still there. So we had several engine strike teams and hand crews in the area when the fire was down there, and we protected all the structures. At this point, I have not heard of any structure loss in the Tobin area. The next question, you mentioned Spring Valley Lake. Has fire made it to Spring Valley or Lower High Lakes area? The fire is established in the whole Lower Lakes or the High Lakes area. So Spring Valley does have fire around it, and most of the lakes in the bottom half have fire around it. There is a section in the middle where you see a little island in here, and there's a couple lakes in there that have not been touched yet, but there is a large amount of fire down in the High Lakes area. Next question, is Magalia safe? What about the winds moving down towards Magalia? Should Magalia be worried? At this point, no. So one thing about Magalia, we all know about the Camp Fire in 2008. It consumed a lot of fuels in that direction, and even if the fire started to move that way, it doesn't have as much fuel to burn as hot or as fast as it did. And Concal and Magalia is one of our main priorities, and that's why we've been concentrating on that left flank so hard, is to keep the fire from moving that direction. Leads me to the next question, is Concal safe? At this time, yes. The fire is not moving in that direction, and we have established control lines in that section that would have moved into Concal. They're holding at this point, but it all depends on the weather. What about Rogers Flat area? What about the trains that has stopped at Rogers Flat? So when the fire did cross over there about Tobin and Rogers Flat area, there was actually 2 trains in there. We're working very closely with the Union Pacific Railroad. In fact, we have people embedded with them with radio communications because they've been helping us out with the fire train. There's a lot of social media, you'll see it on there, and they're actually helping us move our personnel up and down the tracks. So when the fire did jump, we were aware the trains were there, and we made notification. At this point, there's no damage to the trains that I'm aware of. Next question. If the fire burns into the Bucks Lake Wilderness area, how do you plan on fighting that fire? So most people, if they know about the Bucks Lake area, they know how remote it is and how difficult the terrain is. Lots of rocks. It hasn't burned on that north side of the lake for quite some time. The bottom section has some burned area, especially down in the French Creek area. So since the fire did jump earlier today, we've always been watching that area, and we did move resources over to the Bucks Lake side that are getting established. We're bringing in some local knowledge from the U.S. Forest Service and the CAL FIRE side, and by tomorrow morning we'll have a good plan on how we're going to get around the fire. It all is based on weather, of course. We do not plan on letting it get into Bucks Lake because it was prepped during the North Complex last year, so there is some lines established. We'll open those back up. And then on the Meadow Valley area, it hasn't had fire in there for a while. So there's a lot of country. There's a good 20 miles between where the fire's at in Meadow Valley and probably about 5 miles down to where the Bucks Lake is. Our priorities is protect Bucks Lakes and Meadow Valley. If we have to let it come out a little bit further, we'll do so, but we're going to get aggressively go in there and get that fire and get it out. We don't want to burn any longer than it has to. Any questions?
Thank you, Chief Brunel, for answering those questions for us. This will conclude our evening briefing for this evening. We do ask you to please join us tomorrow, July 19th at 7 p.m. Again, here on Facebook for a Dixie incident update. For additional information on how to prepare for wildfire, please visit www.readyforwildfire.org, and please continue to follow the CAL FIRE BTU page for the most current information on what the fire is doing. Thank you.